When I started playing guitar in 2008, I looked at electric guitars as a kid and always thought, that's the coolest thing. I loved music that included them. I wanted one. So I started on a cheap $50 acoustic guitar, and I loved that guitar. It taught me so much. I really got my grips. I remember sitting on that couch, and I remember writing, I guess I'll just show you some of my first songs. Some music that I kept in a vinyl sleeve. And it was so cool. I mean, starting out, I would cover songs, you know, and I write out these long cover lists. I used this program called Audacity, and I learned how to record with some other people. A lot of these had really cryptic names with just letters and numbers, and would try to write a whole album. I even have the CD somewhere. But this was me writing it out. I would write out. Concert I did jamming with my cousin David. I remember this. This was so fun. In the basement. There's video of it. I made it public just to kind of document my journey. Where I documented where people would sit. I wrote out a whole letter to my uncle telling him the backstory. He's in the military. Telling him I play music now, and even put little notes beside each song. Sent him that letter and CD. Lyrics, chords. I would use these chords to show kids, and I started teaching guitar. And during that time of teaching and writing music, my first album, the teaching was more fun, but this album, See Why I Should, by guitarist 1-2.
1, 2, 3.
Collector's edition. Suggested age on a scale of 13 to 20. Wasn't marketing to anyone above 20, sorry. Not intended for pianists either. Mark chords. Chords for songs, bonus features. On these pages, I would write out every note. How to strum it, how to repeat it, every single thing on this page. Painstakingly. 40 pages. I changed one song called Nothing Less Than Nothing to Nothing More Than Nothing. All right here, you know, on paper, and just really enjoyed making that album. Enjoyed teaching music. And I preserved this just to stiffen it, just for me. In case I ever want to look back at it, I put it all in a vinyl sleeve. Talked in other videos about how I preserve stuff. Vinyl especially, but you can preserve anything. I preserve old notebooks and old fun stuff over the years. Well, after all that time, it hasn't waned. My love for music. Obviously, I started collecting vinyl, physical media. I love a huge digital library and the technology, but performing and creating, and that's the heart and soul of who I am. Here I go. This is my first electric guitar. It was given to me by my uncle. Trying to think what guitar I would get and research with my uncle as a kid. My uncle always loved guitars, Uncle David.
Well, what are you doing down here?
Spending Thanksgiving with my family.
He would show me all kinds of options for guitars and amps. Oh, you don't want that amp. That's a piece of crap. You gotta get this one. So this is when early modelers were coming out. This is before I ever started playing, and I didn't know anything about it. I remember we couldn't touch this. That's what I remember, was under his bed, and when you get it out, do not touch the tuners. And I remember, as he showed me guitars, I started narrowing down which one I wanted. And there were so many cheap ones, and I remember not being able to pick a color and being indecisive, as I am today, about if I could only have one, what would I get? What would I do to make it mine and different? And he, with this guitar, little did I know, he wrote songs for us on it. I'll play you some in the background as you're listening to this now. I was dumbfounded, my family was dumbfounded that he could write something so simple and beautifully in the early days of, you know, digital recording, just from his heart as a gift to each one of my siblings. At the time there were 3, so he had this guitar. And here it is. He gave it to me. Here's the pictures of me unboxing it on that day, what it looked like then. This now, it needs some work. It has a whammy bar that can go with it. I love that. Love a Floyd Rose when it stays in tune. And this guitar right here, he completely modified. Oh, whoa. Whoa. This guitar right here, he completely modified the electronics up himself. Added the Floyd Rose. Really took a lot of loving care. I think he refinished it black sparkle. Check out that texture. And I treasured and still treasure this guitar, every little thing about it. From Rogue, beautiful maple neck. Super smooth to play, low action. Stayed in tune okay enough to record, and I recorded tons of stuff on this with a variety of sounds. The reason why he decided to pick these pickups, he told me later, is they're Steve Vai's pickups. Now that's pretty impressive that he was able to modify a guitar all by himself. And this guitar will stay with me as a gift. He didn't want it back. He wanted to give the gift of music. It's beautiful black strap, original. It'd be nice to restring and get it sounding okay, but
action.
here it is.
That concludes. Oh, poor sad.
I wouldn't video right now. That's it. I had a PV Viper 15 watt amp, sold that once I got into digital stuff, but that's the amp. I played it all the time. I would turn it down just above 0 so as to not disturb anybody. Didn't have any pedals or anything. A lot of it had built-in pedals, everything you would need. Got this, my first pedal board. Still have cables and all kinds of junk in here. Oh wow, I got a couple other things. I got a foot switch later. I bought this from Tycho, my favorite artist later. Thought this would be fun to control something with the foot switch. He used it live. Also, is this a Keeley compressor? I think it's a Keeley compressor, yeah. Bought that later for my brother, which he gave back to me. This multi-effects box is from Boss. Wow, it's dirty. This is a Boss ME70 digital effects pedal. I recorded bass through this in studios. Lugged it around a ton of places. It's heavy, it's fun. Amazing foot switch. You can do loops with that button. Plugging it in, we're gonna have to start jamming. I would swear by these, and everyone I would play music with had to have monster cables because they had lifetime warranties or something. And it would light up. Probably has all my presets from all my user banks too. Reverb knob, volume knob, tone, level, different channels, all the different pedal effects. There's the looper. You could edit each one and turn them on. Loved that. You could activate it. Oh my gosh, all the muscle memory comes back tactily when I do this. Years went by and a lot of the stuff sat in cases and eventually got other guitars. I had an Epiphone Les Paul, had a cheap Fender Tele, you know, couple acoustics, gave one to my brother, had a 12 string, had a 6 string, both Martins. Got rid of both of them. I kept coming back to the electric guitar. But I haven't had the guts to pull the trigger on a different one. Oh my gosh. Haven't had the guts to pull the trigger on a new one. I'm sure I could buy whatever nice in stock, not vintage, new guitar that I wanted, and I almost chose to do that. And I kind of thought about this back during the pandemic, and I thought, you know, what do I want to spend my, what are my real hobbies and what do I want to spend my money on to try to get into something new? I'd recorded music all the way since I was 12 up till about 2019, and all I could think about during the pandemic was trying to come up with a way to deepen my love for music. I came up with the spreadsheet. We're going to talk about the top albums of the year, and that's probably already out by the time you're seeing this. 1,000+ albums. I made that list, and it really dove into music, listening instead of just creating. Make sure I'm tapped in with what I love, what's out there available, what I haven't heard yet, and be receptive to both so that I can become a more well-rounded person. And this is the ethos for 2026. I really do think so. The passion for my craft, showcasing what was out there, and I found a love for that. Through starting this channel, through collecting stuff and sharing with others and seeing what's going on in music, what can we be a part of together? Because I always loved the energy you could get in a room with a band. Even when I was 12, I had that vision of longevity, of making something that could outlast me and someone else could take and maybe even push it way beyond what I thought. Then I thought, well, who am I in a band? How can we start a band? Who could be in this band? Unbalanced forces. That was either the album or the band or the label or something. I just knew that was going to be it. Unbalanced forces. It was perfect. Forces unbalanced in science and like physics. That's what it started out as. And then I wrote, I was like, no. Went, no. This is way deeper than that. And I started typing documents full of lyrics, poetry, and tie together all this new music that I was ingesting in this new time with the new band. new projects, pushing myself forward in this direction of unbalanced forces. And eventually, just maybe 10 years ago, decided I need to write the album. Packaged Feelings. I didn't know that was going to be the album title. But deep introspection and deep soul searching and pouring it out through instruments and creating this thing in the world that now exists outside of me that I wanted to understand from a distance. I knew I was creating something that I needed to look at and look at in the world, it was not just poetry that I was experiencing. It started becoming an extension of my friendships with these beautiful people. I wanted to talk about, like, my friend going through a divorce at a young age. My friend, you know.
Their hands barely coalesced.
Watching so many people deal with loss and sharing in that. And these powerful emotions that you feel so potently that you need this way to look at it through an artistic lens. And come to grips with it. Maybe being used by a system your whole life. And becoming aware of how we can help live for something and die for something greater than ourselves. I really wanted this project to be it. But I really just wanted to play guitar and come up with sounds that I went, oh, that's cool, and just play it back. That's the ethos of my first music project, and eventually I came up with the name that I wanted to be with a random name generator. I came up with the name that I want to be, Harry Artrip. And Artrip, I thought, well, that's the band. That's perfect. 2 syllables, simple, art, rip. Something dead becoming new. And during the pandemic, I wanted, instead of rest in peace to art, I wanted the Artrip to bring it back. And so I brought back that same vision that I had since Guitarist 12, all the way through Unbalanced Forces and now into Artrip. And I want to start the next project. I want to finish what Artrip started. And reconnecting with what means the most to me. And the number one instrument that means the most to me, that it opens me up in a raw way, is the guitar. So we entered the scene, right? I'm trying to buy a Gibson. I just know I want a Gibson. I said, whatever they have. They're gonna give me a nice deal. They were generous in showing me everything I wanted to see, handing me all kinds of guitars. Here's a $5,000 guitar. Here's another $5,000 guitar. How does this sound? What do you think? What kind of stuff do you play? And I appreciated the time they spent kind of assessing what they could do for me. And I hope they see this, because I want them to know that handing me a $5,000 guitar convinced me that was the worst possible thing I could have done in that moment. Because here's the reality, guys. Yeah, you can hear the difference. More expensive guitars that are higher quality, sound just that bit better. But here's the other reality. 90% of us, 90% of the time, will never hear and or experience the difference. And we'll definitely not multiply the joy as much as we're multiplying the cost. $1,000 in my pocket, I can do a lot more with that. And that's hard to tell a family friend who's being generous and slashing the price of a multi-$1,000 beautiful piece of art that really inspired me and reawakened the love for why I love doing this too, to experience, wow, this was made to be exactly like our fathers and grandfathers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers wanted us to experience. the best quality that they could give us and pass down. I walked away as hard as it was twice out of that store after playing the nicest things I've ever heard and not getting it. It doesn't mean that you value something less if you don't spend your money buying it. And this is what I love about my sister Sarah. Shout out to Sarah. She's buying her first baritone ukulele because she loves it. Not because it looks great, not because of any other reason, that she just loves it. And she's spending the least amount of money possible to buy this, and she's going to love it. She's going to play it to death. I wanted her to have like the cool ukulele with the flame maple top because I thought that would be amazing for her. Through my years of playing music and performing and recording and all the stuff, that you don't need anything to be like anybody. And maybe I'm just a nonconformist, but like, you should do the thing that inspires you the most. And that's what Sarah taught me, and that's what walking with my store taught me.
If I were the wind,
if I would have loved that 1959 gold top Murphy Lab Gibson Custom Shop USA so much, even if it was in Alpine white with the gold hardware to my spec and the same price, I wouldn't have bought it. I wouldn't have bought it. You know why? The price tag. That is the bottom line truth. And there's no amount of words you can say, things you can change around, but that's called value. And there's something that inspired me about value. It's why I pick all the gear that I pick. It's why like it's so important to inspire other people to get value out of their lives, and try to explain whether it's vinyl or any other medium, that you can find value in both, and here's the difference. Compare. Going the $5,000 route, the $1,000 route, the $500 route, the $0 route. And remember that it's 100% off if you don't buy anything. When I saw the covetous eyes in which so many people gatekeep these beautiful instruments that I love, these Gibson instruments, I gotta be honest with you, it turned me off. And that stuff means more to them than anything in the world, and they would spend whatever dollar amount to have that thing. I don't relate to people who push things on other people because this is the best thing. Stop looking, stop researching, stop the enjoyment of learning, just buy it. I do not think it's a good use of money to spend more than a certain amount on an instrument if it doesn't cost someone that much value to create it. And here's what I mean. I loved watching the Gibson USA factory tours. That was like, oh my goodness, this is where the magic happens. They're creating this. They're creating it, they're paying their workers, they're creating a cost. The wood has a cost, the glue has a cost. The hardware has, everything they design, and the labor, it has a certain cost. What makes it worth it? Is it the sound? Is it the intangible? Is it the fact that it says the name, you know? Like all of these reasons. And if you put them all up side by side, as I did this for months. I put everything, every possible outline of different outcomes up side by side in my head, listening to the actual instrument and feeling what it felt like in my hand. This is what finally broke it through for me. I have to be brutal and upfront when I say that I'm bad at keeping instruments in good shape. I want to use them quick, and I've damaged instruments because of that. And that's maybe like a deeper flaw. Like, we're scared that we're gonna devalue something else or someone else's thing, you know? That was a hard admittence. And the other day I was just trying to help my brother clean out his room, and I accidentally damaged the top of his guitar because I set it on the bed and walked away and it fell off. Lazy. I care so much about guitar. Like, I gave him that guitar, I damaged it. It makes it worse to think that when you go down that rabbit hole of like, I can't, oh, this is why we can't have nice things thought process. No. Here's the reality. I'm happy, I'll listen to music, I'll play like a broken acoustic over here from 100 years ago that barely stays in tune. If I'm inspired to do that, I have beautiful music that I've recorded, like, I'm happy. And I went, no, that's dishonest. That's dishonest. It is so hard to push through this barrier of like, no, what is it really that you want? What do you want? Ryan Gosling keeps asking, what do you want? I'm trying to tell you, Ryan, this is hard. We gotta talk these things out. All right. Oops. You're sitting on the fence like me, waiting for the right guitar or thing to come to you. It's not going to happen. You make it yours. What do you want? Not just because of what other people want. Like what excites you about it? For me, it was like, I never saw something like that before. I never have seen anything like it since. I feel that has some sort of value outside of me. I'm attracted to wanting the energy that I can add to it, you know? And that's what excited me so much about the prospect of getting the guitar. I could feel the resonance against my body and these weird intangible things that I only got through that experience. I love the beauty and art of other things and how they look, but when I felt it, the actual experience of playing it and knowing what I'm hearing and trusting my ears is the reason that I want to go down this path right now. It could change. Maybe I'll want an Ibanez in a year. That'll still be the case. I mean, I love Ibanez. I still want it now. I can want it in a year. But I've always wanted a Gibson. What have you always wanted? What do you know when you experience picking it up and the joy of what you're going to do with it and what it's going to do to you? Because remember, these things are going to teach you. And let's be humble, be receptive to listen to what that is. Maybe we'll heal. We'll stop judging other people for what they do. We'll be excited to pick it up every day. And we won't worry about the dollars and cents as long as we're staying within our means of providing value to it.
Check one, hey, check.
Maybe a sip of water.
That's the thesis. Is this gonna be an 8-part mini-series, Netflix documentary, guitars?
With the past and the future in our sights, with open hearts, receptive to what's gonna happen, we now must embark on this journey called making a decision. I'm really nervous today. I'm gonna pull up and this is bad. Why?